Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Julian Harris with us live from Sydney, Australia. He's co-founder and CEO of Robobai. We're going to talk about his company today, supply risk management, his background, artificial intelligence, not his first company. He's a serial entrepreneur. This podcast is brought to you by podfire.com. If you want to start or scale or monetize your own podcast, you can go to podfire.com. Julian, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thanks, Charles. Great to be here. And hello, Mexico. As you said, I'm one of the founders of Robobai. We started the business in 2017 from a small startup in Australia, and now we're working with clients all around the globe, North America, UK, but also large parts of Asia.
Right. And what do you guys do? If you can explain, what's your unique selling proposition?
Sure. At the heart of what we do, we work with large government agencies and large corporates like the Coca-Colas of the world to analyze all of their corporate spend. So the problem we're solving is a lot of the big companies have multiple ERPs, multiple systems, and it's difficult for them to get one view of their spend across all their countries in every currency. So we analyze the data by pulling it from any number of ERPs and using AI to clean and classify that data. So we're reading every line on every invoice and every purchase order, making sense of it, and then giving the corporate insights into how they can save money, how they can pay better, how they can pay minority groups like women-led businesses or indigenous businesses more of the pie, things like that. So it's a whole suite of insights around corporate spend.
Right. And is it SaaS model or mostly agency service model?
So it's a SaaS model. The product is relatively straightforward to stand up, and then it's just there as a SaaS model in the Azure cloud.
Okay. And what do you charge on a monthly basis typically? Is it per client, per project, or is it fixed pricing table sort of?
It's per client, and it's based the proxy is the amount of spend. So a client that would have, say, $50 billion of spend, we would charge those a lot more a year than somebody that has $1 billion of spend a year.
And how do you go with that? Is it like a percentage? Because I've been asking myself the same question. Like if I, for example, help someone buy a business, right, of $1 million, then charging 1% of that million feels a bit odd because, the pricier the business, the more I would charge. I'm not sure if that would justify myself. So is it just a percentage or is it a more complex calculation?
It's done. I mean, our costing is done firstly on how much does it cost us to deliver the service. So that's the base level. But then there's a certain amount of effort for the extra data. But I understand exactly what you're saying. We typically would save a client 5% of their annual spend. So we could easily justify a small percentage of that. So at the top end, we're trying to say, look, we should have a percentage of the savings we're giving you. At the bottom end, people are comparing us to how much would it cost me to do this manually. So we end up somewhere in the middle.
And usually what kind of suggestions will the AI give? What kind of savings can have a company save 5% on their whole spend?
So we've trained the AI the AI essentially is doing a lot of the classification. So the problem is that a lot of the data in the ERP is just dirty. It's just been input badly or has data missing. So the AI is just actually classifying it to the right product. And then we've trained it to do a lot of the procurement strategies that people will do. So things like, have I got too many suppliers in one category? Why am I spending with 30 different laptop providers? Whereas if I spent with 3 strategic ones, I would get a much better rates because I'm pushing more volume through. Or how much of my spend is on purchase order how much of my spend is on contract, how do I manage my small spend, my tail spend as they call it. So there's a bunch of strategies that procurement people have been doing forever that we've effectively baked into the AI brain to actually come up with these insights out of the box.
Right. And on what kind of data do you train it? Is it like internal data, or do you have a data provider that feeds you? And who is structuring that data and making sure that the AI is well fed?
So we've, since 2017, we've probably built up a data lake of over $1 trillion of spend. So we train it on real data, basically, on data that we've pulled through. We've got a whole data team that spends their life curating data. Obviously, now with things like ChatGPT and some of the large language models, there's the ability to build a lot of your own synthetic data on top of that. But traditionally, we've just trained it on the data that we've seen come into the platform.
Tell me about your go-to-market strategy when it comes to targeting large enterprises and governments, which I have almost zero experience in.
Right. Well, as a very small company competing with very large companies like SAP and IBM, it's always a struggle because we raised a small amount of money in 2020, but in the scheme of things, it was a reasonably small raise. We've got a very small direct team targeting large corporates and government agencies, but a bulk of our revenues now come through a channel. So Mastercard have taken our platform and white labeled it as the Global Treasury Intelligence Platform, and they are selling it globally through their banking system. So I've always used channel where I can. Also, some of the big consultancies like Deloitte and Accenture will resell it as well, because we solve a problem that quickly and cheaply that they would find hard to solve on their own.
Right. So what channel do you use? Is it personal network and contacts, or do you actually do ads or cold outreach, for example?
So we'll do a ton of LinkedIn adverts, Google ads, some marketing, all the traditional methods, cold emails out, webinars. We'll go to seminars, all the things you'd expect in the direct channel. But as I said, we're a small business with a limited number of salespeople, spread quite thin around the globe. So the thing that's bringing most of our work in now would be that financial services channel of the banks and Mastercard reselling our platform.
Right. And how did you get in procurement in first place? Why did you decided to go all in into that niche?
Okay, so this isn't my first business. I knew nothing about procurement in 2017, other than you try and avoid talking to procurement when you're selling a product into a company. But one of my children was at school with somebody else that was an expert in procurement. And him and another guy said, look, they had an interesting idea around building this AI classification engine or spend analytics engine. So I had a look at it, and it was 2017 before ChatGPT and the LLMs sort of exploded on the scene. Looked quite a nice use case. So just decided to give it a go.
And did you analyze the market, the outcome of that? Because me lately, cost reduction has come under my radar. I mean, there's two ways of making money in business, like more sales or cost cutting, theoretically, right? Two main ways. And I think it's sort of genius. For example, if you can come into a business and take a company's AWS bill from 10 million to 1 million, and then you charge 5 to 7% of that, right? I think
Yeah.
that's genius. I think it's sort of growing because these bills are only increasing as well. And I think the competition is sort of low in that niche. So, what kind of analysis did you do of the market?
I did some analysis of the market. If I've got a criticism of myself when I start up businesses, if I like an idea, I tend to just jump in.
Which is
I did
good.
well. the trouble is there's a limited amount of desk work you can do. You only understand a business area when you're in it for a couple of years and competing with other people. So I did some research. I probably should have done more. But I mean, this business has pivoted a couple of times already. We started off with pure play spend analytics, which we still do. But now with Mastercard and the banks, we look at more efficiency of payments. So not only can I buy this good or service for less, but what's the most efficient way of paying for it, whether it's credit card, supply chain finance, or a bunch of other things. So yeah, we've done some analysis, but we've also learned a lot during our, what was it, 6 or 7 year journey.
Yeah, well, it's not your first startup, right? So you've got
Yeah.
a nice gut check here, and yeah, you can't really know what's happening in a niche up until you actually jump right in and start getting data, feeding massive data to your brain, sleeping on it, analyzing, brainstorming with humans and AIs, and eventually you
Yeah.
reach a conclusion slash product market fit. The only danger is like when you raise capital before you have product market fit, right? Because then you owe something to someone. Yeah, do you feel that you have a product market fit right now, and what would it take to get there?
Yeah, that's a great question because when we raised the money in 2020, we felt we had product market fit because we'd done quite a few reasonable sized deals to different companies around the world, Coca-Cola being one of them. So we thought we had product market fit. I don't think we've ever got to the product market fit stage where we're just absolutely scaling. So I'm not sure product market fit is black or white. I think product market fit quite often is, yeah, we've got reasonable market fit, but we haven't got that market fit where we're a rocket ship. And that's what I spend my life looking at every day, because as we know in business, sales solves everything.
Yeah.
I've never had a problem delivering anything technically. The problem is always feeding the beast.
Yeah, correct. And the typical definition of product market fit, I guess, is like 1 million ARR. But in my opinion, it's like more of a gut feeling. What I mean by gut feeling is that it's a complex equation, right? That you would have to define. There's probably 25 metrics in there. If you would ask your gut, like, why do you think this is going to scale? Why do you think competition is not getting higher and so forth? It's a complex equation, but I think eventually, yes, it can be solved through sales. As a cold email guy, I'm all about like testing my thesis via cold email as well, even before I launch stuff. But that alone is enough to confirm me if I have something good or not. The number of replies, the number of sales meetings, the close rate, if people are buying or not, if people are coming back. In your case, do you have a nice retention rate, or is churn through the roof?
No, we have a really good retention rate. And what you've said is interesting because you're talking about, it sounds like smaller check sizes and smaller clients, but much bigger volume where we struggle. So as an example, our ARR is let's say 5 million. Okay. So we're way past that measure of have we got product market fit of 1 million, but because our average check size might be an ARR per client of say 200 grand a year. We've not got the volume that you're talking about to necessarily prove some of the things we need to prove. I think you only get that from you need enough data volume. I mean, for us, it's really speed of sales. Even though our ARR is higher than the $1 million you mentioned, we're not closing a deal every other day. The lead times are slow. And, as I said, going back to your question about research, the trouble is you start something and the next day everything changes. There's a recession, or worse in our case, ChatGPT comes along. So as soon as ChatGPT comes along, the number of conversations I've had with people that say, why don't I just throw my spend data into ChatGPT? Won't that do the same as the proprietary algorithms we've spent 7 years building and training? And I have to try and explain to these people that ChatGPT isn't actually magic. So something like that, for instance, is a tailwind for us because everyone now thinks it does everything.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like and ChatGPT. I mean, they sort of fixed the hallucination problem, but at the corporate level, you can't really afford to have these hallucination. Prompting is hard. Well, at your level, you're probably not prompting. It's probably like coded in Python and so forth. But yeah, there's a lot of refining, and it's a cat and mouse game to feed an AI to have it return consistent results. So lots of value on that level. But yeah, like you said, huge sales cycle, right? You're selling to big
Yeah,
enterprises and
yeah,
governments. Governments and enterprise, to me, there's probably a reason why I stayed away from them, is that it's like super long. But I could certainly, and long and bureaucratic, I should add, but I could certainly see an AI that would drastically accelerate the outreach process and the decision making process if there would be such a GTM AI in the niche of helping shorten the sales cycle when it comes to selling to governments and large enterprises. What data pieces would you feed it? Is it to outreach ABM style, so account-based marketing, to all these people at the same time? Is it to get them in a room at the same time? Like, what could accelerate the sales process at the client level you're selling at?
So we're using lots of outreach programs, and more we see AI based sort of lead generation tools. So there's a few of them out there. So I mean, you'll know more of them than me, but you know, a lot of them will analyze the sort of posts of people in LinkedIn and understand whether they've got a propensity or an issue with spend or procurement, and then target them with a tailored email and try and get them in the funnel and then nurture them with newsletters and things like that. I mean, I think that whole lead generation, early sales funnel is absolutely ripe for AI, and there's lots of people jumped into that space.
Yeah, Phantom Buster for that to
Indeed,
scrape
I think we use that
posts.
one. Yeah,
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 yeah, $90 a month. It's pretty
yeah,
efficient. And what I like doing with Phantom Buster is scraping people that liked someone's post, right? Which would signal that they are into what this person is selling. That's a
yeah.
micro niche in terms of GTM. One thing I've been on to today, I'm gonna publish a video about that soon, is scraping a company's 10K. Since you're targeting like big enterprises, like annual statements of public companies, you scrape that and you feed that to an AI, and you find in the 10K that they are panicked about their $100 million spending on laptops, right? And then you can outreach on top of that. What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I think that's super smart. I think there are companies out there analyzing company reports. I think there's one I've met that are doing it as a niche for banks to help them target clients. So analyzing their annual reports. I think, things that we do would be once we understand people's spend, we also will give them insights around risk. So we might analyze their supply chain for, let's say, modern slavery issues. Now, every big corporate would have something like a modern slavery statement. So there's several areas you could go and scrape. You could go out and scrape their website and see whether they've got a modern slavery statement on there. But also, as you say, you could analyze their books. Their books, again, easy to scan and analyze that with a large language model and come back with all sorts of insights. So yeah, we've probably only seen the tip of the iceberg in terms of information and using AI as a sales tool.
Yeah, the modern slavery is a good idea to scrape that on their website. I'd use clay.com. They have a clay gen that goes on the website and can analyze all sorts of things. And
Yeah,
one other idea would be, and that I'm using nowadays, is a calculator, right? So in a cold email, straight up, you mention to them that, hey, I saw in that 10K that you're spending 100 million on laptops. If you use us, you'll save 5%. We charge 20% on the 5%. Here's your ROI after using us, right? So you build a calculator using that. I think that would be quite smart. So what are your top goals for the remainder of the year as a CEO?
Well, KPIs are always all about increasing the top line. We're just around break even. Didn't quite make break even last year. So all of those metrics expand into more regions. We're pretty strong in Australia. We've done some work in the UK, some in the US. I'd like to do more in the US. So yeah, a range of KPIs. Most of them are financial, particularly as I don't think anyone really knows where the economy is going still. It still seems to be going sideways a little bit.
Yeah, with the elections, it's crazy. But that's
Yeah,
going to be soon over in a month or a bit more.
yeah.
As a serial founder, serial entrepreneurs, what would be your top three lessons for young founders out there? Did you get that, Julian? Test 1, 2. Are we back?
Yeah, yeah. It went a little bit squirrely there for a minute. Sorry, what would my three lessons for people
Yeah, your
starting
young
businesses?
founders as a serial founder like you.
Yeah. Wow. Well, the first one would be don't overanalyze the problem. I think obviously, if you've got an idea, have a look at the niche, and but don't overanalyze it. I think my view is if you overanalyze a market, you'll never actually start. The biggest problem with businesses is actually starting. So I guess that would be the first thing. And then, if you're starting your own business, don't underestimate how hard it's going to be. I've never been in a business. I've had some failures and I've had some quite good successes and some quite good exits, but I've never had a business where you haven't had to work 15-hour days. And try and be lucky, I guess. Was
Be
the
patient.
old expression? I think what's the old expression? Luck is where preparation meets
Meets.
opportunity.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, luck is
Yeah,
interesting, right? I don't consider myself lucky in business yet. I consider myself lucky in other life areas like health, but
yeah,
yeah, then it's funny, right? Like the 15-hour days, that's like 9 hours left in your day. So what do you do during those 9 hours? How do you take care of yourself? Do you have any habits to boost your batteries back up?
yeah. I try and do a lot of exercise. I mean, in Australia, I do a lot of bushwalking, mountain biking, things like that. Snowboard when the ski season's. Yeah, I try and do a lot of exercise to de-stress.
Love it. I didn't even know you guys had like snow in Australia. What part is there snow in
Yeah,
Australia?
funny thing, Thredbo and Perisher, you can ski, and it's the opposite side. I'm originally from the UK, so it's obviously Southern Hemisphere skiing. But June, July, August, you can ski in Australia. They're not massive
Interesting.
hills, but they're good enough.
Nice. Very cool. I'm
Yeah,
gonna try these
yeah,
out. Add it to the bucket.
you should do.
Where can people find out more about you, Julian?
So you can look for me on LinkedIn, Julian Harris, Robobai, but also if you look at the website, robobai.com, you'll see us obviously online and on LinkedIn.
That was Charles Cormier.